one thing that I found impressive about the native English-speaking countries, US, England, Ireland, Australia, that you guys never had an actual dictatorship. At least there was never like a regime that you could call it
Right.
From A to Z, a dictatorship. That never happened. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. I think the ethics, the classical liberalism, the people, because the people are always the root cause of whatever happens in society. And I don't know how much of that is now giving space for different models of dictatorship, because in one hand, because we haven't experienced, I'm still we as I'm living in Ireland, so we tend that will never happen to us because it always happened, with a neighbor or with the neighbor of my neighbor or with my cousin wherever he is living. So do you think people are being naive and taking for granted that democracy is here to stay, or what's happening?
Because I view things through a historian's lens. I understand how young our nation is. And I really hope that our nation has a chance to continue to evolve and to grow itself up, because the founding of our nation is good. The concept is good. And of course, those are based on very classical paradigms already. So I really hope that we have an opportunity to continue. Let's see, I've sidetracked myself. I apologize for this, but I would like for us to continue as we are. I would like for us to evolve. I think that the basics are good. And so, I just have to hope for that. I agree with you. We don't have the dictatorship. The one thing that concerns me is there are some people that might say that we do, or that certain people are invoking something like that. The problem with that is that people are very sidetracked by entertainment. By entertainment posing as news. They're sidetracked and it appeals to their emotions. And so I think some very, very negative conclusions are drawn awfully quickly, when in fact it is just a bunch of people trying to make their way. And of course, the whole political thing, that's kind of a sloppy, dirty business anyway. I think that to not expect virtue in a politician is probably a good place to start. Aside from that, I think best interests and brilliance and a capacity for diplomacy, that's always going to be great. So there are some basics that do work for everyone.
Yeah. So how does it feel to be an American these days, given you guys are on a few pedestals when it comes to economy, when it comes to military, even when it comes to culture? I think you are still number one, maybe in the majority of the fields. US will take the lead. How does it feel to be the pedestal of the planet?
Yeah, it's a kind of a funny thing. I was not even aware of that until, most of us, let's say most American kids, grow up with the sense, and maybe that's a way of, how privilege is a word that's tossed about a lot, is that we don't quite understand that or comprehend it because we grow up in it. Having said that, though, I'm acutely aware of people that live in poverty and struggle and in harm and in hurtful ways and live difficult lives even in this country. So we have everything. I find it interesting that in the end, everything seems to be a contest all the time. That's human nature, isn't it? And so even from the standpoint that, culturally, like, let's say, for instance, let's circle back to music once again. I remember spending time in Italy and thinking, wonderful, I'm going to hear Italian music out when I'm out and about. And it was only American pop and American rock. And the group I was with were like, well, where's some music that we can hear that's different? We want to hear something. What do you guys have? For instance. That said, of course, we just happened to see Andrea Bocelli last night. Wonderful concert. He was here in Indianapolis, as a matter of fact. But yeah, I find it interesting that there is this perception, But I think that every single human being is simply gloriously, miraculously, accidentally born into the spot that they are born, whether it is the family or the faith or the nation or the city. And so it's up to us to then evolve by growing our mind and our understanding and then working out from that context. But any American kid, let's say some kid that grows up is born in Wisconsin, grows up in Indiana, as I have. These are all pure circumstantial things for me. I do think it's nice to be able to be proud of the country one lives in. And so I would say, that I am proud to be an American. I am cool with that. I don't like the denigration of the nation and saying that we have to end or stop. Rather, I'm saying let's acknowledge how young our country is and let's move forward in that context.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong to be proud about your country, and that is compatible with being interesting. Actually, I think the two get together pretty easily. Like pride in your own roots, it allows space for love, for fascination, for adventure, for exploring other things. Just it's not a deal breaker, because people tend to think that patriotism is some sort of castration for other cultures, and it's not. It's just a starting point that you want to know who you are, how did you end up here, what did your ancestors did, and what are you inheriting from being born in that particular part of the planet. And that's just a starting point. And then like Moses, you get out of your land, you go to see others, and eventually you might return, you might not, but you never forget where you were born and what was given to you, because that's something that you need to be very grateful of, and
Yes.
also acknowledge what was done wrong. And that's fine, because
Yes.
as you said, we are human beings, we are full of flaws, we get things wrong. So how come our ancestors were not correct all the time? Well, because
That's right.
they are as humans as us. That's all that is. Just they didn't have technology. That's the only difference.
Yes. Yeah. And it's interesting, as I have grown up and accepted. I mean, even my maiden name's Glushenko, and it was a difficult name for a lot of people as I was growing up. So there are aspects to differentness that when a person is young can be more difficult. But then and then part of that maturing process, and that includes, in adolescence, when you start to try to figure out who the heck you are, trying to make peace with what is different and being cool with it. And not only that, but then figure out maybe a way to celebrate it and embrace it and go with that. And that was something that I definitely had to learn to do because I did feel different when I was younger. And for me, it manifested very, very logically in being what we would call an art kid. And in that, in art and creative expression, that's where I found a community of thinkers and doers where the acceptance started to help me to figure out who in the world I was being, what would I want to become in the process of growing up.